Good afternoon, my dear students. Today we are going to see a new chapter, chapter 9, Soil. So, all are familiar with soil, right? Every day we are seeing soil. For soil is very important for our day-to-day life, right? For walking, we are walking on the soil. For cultivating anything, we have to depend on soil, right? So, every day we are depending on the soil. Soil is very important to our day to day life. So, in this chapter, we will learn about soil, its structure, its characteristics, and properties. Okay, so soil is one of the most important natural resources. It provides anchorage to the plants and supplies water and nutrients. If proper soil is not there, plants cannot stand properly, right? It needs anchorage to the soil. Okay, then only it can take the plants can take the nutrients and water properly. If soil is not there, the plants cannot stand properly. It will not get enough water and nutrients. It is the home for many organisms. You can see small organisms are living in the soil. Soil is essential for agriculture. Agriculture provides food, clothing, and shelter for all. Soil is thus an inseparable part of our life. So, without soil, the existence is not there. Human beings cannot live without soil. So, each and everything we have to depend on soil. Even if we are constructing so many buildings, even we are not touching the soil also. Without soil, we cannot live. We are getting the food, the cloth, means the cloth which is made up of cotton and other fibers that is getting from the plants, that is that for the growth of the plants we need soil. So each and every day we are depending directly or indirectly on plants. Okay, so soil plays an important role in our life. So nowadays you can see different types of waste are accumulating in different places like polythene bags, plastics which can pollute the soil. If these plastics are there inside the soil, the plants cannot grow properly because the plastic cannot, doesn't have the capacity to decay. So they also kill the organism living inside the soil, and that is why there is a demand to ban the polythene bags and plastic. Other substances which pollute the soil are number of waste products, chemical and pesticides. Pesticides means the chemical which we use to kill the pest. Pest means maybe some insects or any other unwanted weeds, that is known as the weedicide. If we are spraying these pesticides and weedicides on the plants, it will go to the soil through water and it will damage the soil. So the waste products and chemicals should be treated before they are released into the soil. The use of pesticides should be minimized. The pesticides, fertilizers and these weedicides can cause damage to the plants. So maximum we should decrease the use of this pesticide and weedicide. Now we will see the soil profile. Okay, so soil is composed of distinct layers. So we can do one experiment to understand more about that. We will do one experiment. Take 2 cups of soil. Then take in a beaker or a glass. Glass is better. Take in a glass and add some water and mix it nicely. Okay, and after that keep it for some time. Okay, then we can see different layers of soil. So below you can see gravel. Gravel means little more big pieces of soil, that is known as the gravel, and above that you can see sand, then you can see clay, then you can see water, and above that you can see dry leaves, that is known as the humus. So once again I will tell, take a little soil, break the clumps with your hand to powder it. Now take a glass tumbler, 3/4 filled with the water, and then add a handful of soil to it and stir it well with a stick to dissolve the soil. Now let it stand undisturbed for some time. Afterwards, observe it and you can see different layers of soil. So upper part you can see some rotting dead matter, maybe leaves or some small insects. That is known as the humus. So what is known as humus? Humus is the rotting dead matter in the soil is called as humus. So can you say how the soil is formed? So the soil is formed by a process known as weathering. The soil is formed by the breaking down of rocks by the action of wind, water and climatic changes. This process is known as the weathering. Okay, so this is not taking place in 1 or 2 days. It will take thousands of years to make the soil. You can see big rocks that will break into small pieces, and again it will break with the help of maybe some climatic condition, maybe heat, maybe some other factors like wind or water. It will slowly it will break down and form soil. That process is known as the weathering. Okay, so the nature of any soil depends upon the rocks from which it is formed and which type of vegetation that it grows on. Okay, so the weathering, you have to learn it. Weathering is the process by which soil is formed. The breaking down of rocks by the action of wind, water, climate or any other chemical or physical factors. That is known as the weathering. Now we will see what is soil profile. When we are cutting the soil vertically, okay, up to down, we can see different layers of soil. That is known as the soil profile. Each layer differ in feel, color, depth and chemical composition. These layers are referred to as horizons. Okay, when we are cutting the soil vertically, we can see different layers of soil that will be different in color, depth, chemical composition and in texture. So we will give different names like A, B, C like that depending upon these characteristics. These layers are referred as horizons. Okay. So you can see in this picture, the first layer is known as the A horizon. So we usually see the top surface of the soil. That one, we can see the upper layer on which plants are growing. That contains, it will be dark in color and it will be rich in humus. Humus means dead plants and animals. Okay, that layer will be rich in humus and it will be more fertile and it contains more minerals also. The humus make the soil fertile and provide nutrients for the growing plants. This layer is generally soft, porous and can retain more water. It is known as the topsoil or the A horizon. Okay. You got it. A horizon means that it is the uppermost layer. It is dark in color, which contain humus and more humus will be there in the top layer. And the humus makes the soil fertile and provides nutrients for the growth of plants. The layer is generally soft, porous because the water, you can see when we are pouring the water will go easily. That is known as the porous and can retain more water. It is known as the topsoil and it is a horizon. Okay, so this provides, you can see different types of small animals living on that, right, on that soil. Maybe worms, rodents means rats, rodents, moles, beetles, etc. So it provides shelter for many living organisms. The roots of small plants are embedded entirely in the topsoil. You can see the fibrous roots, plants which have fibrous roots like small plants will will be there in the topsoil because its roots will not go that much deep. So the small plants, that roots we can see in the top level. So this is known as the A horizon. I hope this layer is clear to you. Next layer is B horizon. This next layer have lesser amount of humus. So below to A horizon, there will not be that much humus and minerals. So humus will be less in that second portion, B horizon, and the layer is generally harder and more compact, and it is compared, and that is known as the B horizon, and that is the middle layer. You can see when you dig, when you want to plant a something, plant a plant, that time when you dig with any knife or something, first layer that you can dig it easily, but if we are going inside the second layer, it will be little more hard, right? That layer is known as the B horizon. Okay, it will be little more harder and less water will be the less humus will be the, so it will be little more hardened. That layer is known as the B horizon. Okay, then the third layer is the C horizon, which is made up of small lumps of rocks with cracks and crevasses. We can see some, it will be more hard compared to A and B. It contains small rocks and crevasses will be the. Below this layer, we can see the bedrock, which is hard and difficult to dig with a spade. If you try it also, it is very hard to dig it. So these are the four layers. A horizon, which contains more humus, more fertile, and second one is B horizon, it will be little more hard and less humus will be the, and below to that C horizon, and last is bedrock. So when we are coming from A to C and bedrock, the soil will become more and more harder, and the nutrients, the fertility will decrease when we come from the topsoil to the bedrock. So this is the soil profile. Now we will see different types of soil. Okay, you can see from state to state and from place to place there are different types of soils are there. Maybe some places it will be little more dark, maybe black in color, some places it will be red in color, some places it will be brown in color, and the thickness, water holding capacity also will change. So depending upon the clay or humus, the soil will change. So, the weathering of rocks produces small particles of various materials. These include sand and clay. The relative amount of sand and clay depends upon the rock from which the particles were formed. That is the parent rock. The mixture of rock particles and humus is called soil. So both the rock particles also will be there, humus also will be there. That together we can call as soil. Okay. So what is a soil? The mixture of rock particles and humus is called the soil. Then in the soil we can see living organisms such as bacteria, plant roots and earthworms also we can see inside the soil. Okay, so the soil is classified on the basis of the proportion of particles of various sizes. So as I said to you, the two things, one is rocky materials from which the soil is formed, that one, and the humus. So some soil have more rock and less humus, some have more humus and less soil. So depending upon the proportion of these two things, we can see different types of soil. Okay, so if soil contains greater proportion of big particles, it is known as the sandy soil. And if the proportion of the fine particle is relatively higher, then we can call that clay soil. You can see sandy soil and clay soil. You can see with your experience only. Just I will say one example. If you are taking two cups, and in one cup you take sandy soil and in one cup you take clay soil, and pour one glass of water to the sandy soil and clay soil. The sandy soil, within second you can see the water is going down. Okay. In the clay soil, the fine particles are relatively higher. So it will take time for the water to go down. So depending upon the proportion, we can distinguish between sandy soil and clay soil. So the size of the particle in a soil has an influence on its properties. Sand particles are quite large. They cannot fit close together. So there is a large space between them. These spaces are filled with air. So we can say that the sand is well aerated. When we are pouring the water will drain quickly through the spaces between the sand particle. So the sand soils tend to be light, well aerated and rather dry. Clay particles being much smaller and it is packed tightly together, leaving only little space for the air. Unlike sandy soil, the water can be held in a tiny gaps between particles of clay. So clay soils has less air, but they are heavy as they can hold more water than the sandy soils. Now we will see the best topsoil for growing plants, that is loam. Loamy soil is the mixture of sand, clay and another type of small soil particle that is known as the slit. Slit occurs as a deposit in river beds. In near to the river banks we can see the slit. The size of the slit particles is between those of sand and clay. The loamy soil also has humus in it. It has right water holding capacity for the growth of the plant. So this loamy soil contains slit, sand and clay. So this is best for the growth of plants.